Smart 24, driving business.
A very good evening to you tuned into Smart 24 TV. You're welcome to this particular bulletin, and my name is Ronnah Nahabwe with Winnie and Nakawuki on the sign language interpretation. But first, let's look at what made the headlines.
In business today, approximately 60 billion shillings lost to data piracy, music, film, literature, all looted. Coffee exports dropped to 5.6 million bags. Stakeholders embark on revivalment as anticipated target stands at 60 bags. Fifth generation rolled out, high internet costs still to be resolved by subscription numbers.
In our first story tonight, in today's digital age, businesses are increasingly reliant on technology to manage their operations, store data, and engage with customers. While technology has undoubtedly transformed the business landscape, it has also exposed companies to new risks, such as data breaches, cyber attacks, and content piracy.
According to URSP, the growing problem of content piracy in by individuals and businesses engaging in unauthorized reproduction, distribution, and use of copyrighted works has affected business productivity. Music, movies, software, and other digital content are among the most pirated items.
We have carried out studies, and especially for instance, in books, it's very easy to value in books. And for the books that we confiscated, and then for the CDs that are bearing works that are not legal, there is so much money that is lost. For instance, our estimation was of about 60 billion shillings that is being lost. That money is going to wrong hands. It even cannot be taxed by the government, so the government is also losing, and even the people who create the content are losing.
Similar to this, the Data Protection and Privacy Act offers legal protection and makes sure that it is gathered, processed, and stored legally. The Act amends that businesses get NVIDIA's explicit consent before collecting their data, identify the reasons why data is being collected, and protect the data from illegal access, use, and disclosure.
It only takes a form of contractual arrangement. The content creator should enter into a contractual arrangement with the other person exploiting their work, because the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act requires that every work that has been created, if you want to exploit the economic rights, it must be in writing. 2, you can agree on the amount of money. 3, it should be for a given period of time. Then lastly, where need arises, mention the name of the author. And if you don't mention, you can give them more money such that they waive their right to be mentioned.
For a creative industry like ours, where we have people creating content, we have continued to see continually that there's issues to do with piracy, copyright issues.
Copyright owners have started actively enforcing their rights, and their growing trend to copyright infringement suits. The penalties for copyright infringement are designed to protect the rights of creators, and encourage innovation and investment in the creative industries.
The fines are dependent on whether you're a licensed broadcaster, but also on the prayers of the person whose copyright has been infringed. Sometimes it is the court that can award damages, but the law, if you're a licensed broadcaster, the law allows us to fine you for breaches, and the figures can go up to 10% of your gross annual revenue.
Content piracy costs the Ugandan creative industry an estimated 60 billion Ugandan shillings each year, with serious financial and legal ramifications for people and firms who engage in piracy. The call by URSP and UCC to respect intellectual property rights and follow copyright laws highlights the importance of legal protection for intellectual property in Uganda. Martha Nimsima, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Let's now look at the coffee market and the revenue plan. Now, stakeholders in the coffee production industry have today met to strategize on how to spur value addition in the sector and gauge a way forward on how to improve their competitive advantage in the global market, with a desired goal of enhancing coffee exports from the current 8 million bags exported annually to 20 million bags in the near future. They argued that there is need to shun the rudimentary coffee production methods that have hindered the African global coffee output and espouse better scientific methods of production, like the use of machinery, fertilizers, technology that could lead to enhanced yields. Statistics from International Coffee Organization indicate that Uganda, in spite of being Africa's largest coffee exporter, registered a shortfall in coffee exports. Cumulative exports from January to December amounted to 5.63 million bags compared to 6.77 million bags in 2021. A 20.25% decrease driven by drought, the industry lobby said in its latest report.
Coffee industry generates, by last coffee year, $460 billion. The coffee producing countries combined, earned an average of $25 billion. Now, that is about 5% of the global value. That is too low. And when we say all producer countries combined, it includes Brazil and Colombia, Uganda and the rest. Okay, so that is too low. 5% is too low.
However, statistics indicate that other producing countries in Africa like Ivory Coast, Kenya, Tanzania registered better output than Uganda. The 1.14 million bags production deficit saw Uganda lagging behind her African competitors, with Ivory Coast, Kenya and Tanzania a 69.4%, 33.2% and 18.6% increase respectively. Basing on such a downward production trend, stakeholders argue that there is need for an institutional framework to transform the coffee sector to a level it envisions.
Within the economy, we are also looking at how we can improve on research, on managing the diseases that are affecting the crop, and how we can also improve on the value addition in the whole value chain, so that this can expand the job opportunities. And you have had the president raising a few issues on how we can help this sector perform better.
Further research has indicated that Africa's coffee production potential has also been hindered by poor socio-economic development issues, especially limited funding from government.
These farm organizations and cooperatives. Number 3, we have looked at the necessary investment and financing that is required to drive coffee value addition. Okay, what resources do we need in terms of funding, government funding the sector?
In spite of all these challenges, the former Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Victoria Sechitoleko, has urged stakeholders in the sector to use the available funds more wisely instead of continuously lamenting about the limited funding.
In life, it is very difficult to say I have enough money. In fact, there are very few people who I have met who have said they have enough money. For me, what is important is what are you doing with what you have? Because like right now, the sun, the drought, the coffee is suffering all that, but what are you doing in order to maintain that? how much money do you need? Because, for example, when you go to most parts of Buganda and Ankole, they have actually mulched their coffee so well. They have been growing these trees, so they have made a microcosm of their own.
There are also concerns that African producers of the beans don't add their fair share in the global value chain, sparking agitation for processing capacity.
Than the middlemen. And I think these are the areas we're also discussing, and the resolutions are there.
Even with the modest growth output registered by countries like Ethiopia, Uganda and Tanzania in the last decade, higher costs as well as use of fertilizer and bad weather are conniving to deny the continent productivity levels last seen in the 90s, even as the world supply deficit keeps growing. Ronnah, Nahabwe, Smart 24 TV, Business Today. Now, Uganda has made significant progress in improving internet services over the past few years, with launching several initiatives such as upgrading the networks to increase connectivity across the country. It presents an opportunity for businesses to leverage the technology and improve their operations as well as grow. However, the cost of internet access remains the major challenge for businesses.
According to the Uganda Communications Commission, the cost of internet access in the country remains high due to high internet expenses and inadequate internet access in the country. Ugandan businesses have found it difficult to compete with other regions, especially when it comes to online businesses.
How we have enhanced businesses that use the internet in terms of bringing on the cost of internet. I would say that there are a lot of things that influence or impact the cost of internet, but those which are directly within the control or in line with the mandate of the Commission include the licensing regime and adoption of internet. Essentially, the way the internet works is that the more people we get online, the more we bring the cost of internet down.
The move to upgrading networks by telecommunication companies like Airtel, rolling out 5G network is expected to provide faster internet speeds, improved network coverage, and high quality of service to customers in their day-to-day life and business operations.
On bringing down the latency and for high-speed applications. For example, you want a private LTE network for the corporates, for the large industries here. High-speed gaming, remote medical applications like even remote surgery, driverless cars, and in effect, it's actually an upgrade even on the mobile side, on the human internet side, on the mobile side, it's an upgrade of the current 5G for 4G technology, wherein the speeds will at least be 100 times more.
In addition, some private sector businesses are working to improve rural internet connection. This is anticipated to increase the number of Ugandans with access to the internet, potentially lowering the country high internet prices caused by a low connectivity.
Uganda need to be on forefront of all the technological advancement that is available to any part of this world. So we have successfully tested 5G technology in our telecommunication network, which means that we are ready for whatever commercial launch possible to put forward Uganda in the map of the best telecom network with latest technology.
Improved internet speed and network quality will gradually expand coverage, allowing more customers across the country to raise productivity, facilitate remote working, improve e-commerce, and gain access to vital services such as healthcare and education.
And that our market has a diversity of consumers. We have people who have not used a mobile phone before. We also have people who are using the Nakawuki mobile phone, which works on 2G. We have people who are using basic mobile phones, which are internet connected but not very advanced. And then we also have people whose product needs require high level and high capacity internet. So as a regulator, the uniqueness of our consumer demographics is that we have to cater for all people in the spectrum. We have to cater for the people who are just coming on board, who just need a capability and do basic communication needs. But then we also can't ignore the people who have advanced communication needs, who want to explore the potential of technologies as fast as 5G.
While there are still limitations in terms of coverage, the affordability and potential benefits of the technology are expected to drive adoption, contributing to economic growth and development in the country. Ronnah Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you for still watching Business Today and sticking with us up to this time. Now, yesterday, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets held a national symposium for its suppliers to gauge their performances, their achievements, and then also know what has been their challenges mostly. This was, of course, in partnership with PSFU, and this symposium raised a number of issues, including these suppliers were facing problems with delayed payments from government, the binding and the EGP follies, among other issues. Now with me is Doreen Akatukunda Masiko. Doreen Akampulira Masiko from Comp Consult Technologies. She's going to help us understand the gist of this matter and if indeed this is true and the gravity or intensity of these challenges the suppliers face. Thank you, Doreen, for joining us. Very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening too.
Yeah, so I'll just telling the viewers the symposium PPDA had yesterday and how it evoked many emotions from suppliers, especially those who have been supplying to the government. Issues concerning delayed payment, the electronic, app of theirs, the EGP and its follies, among other concerns. And I would like us to start from a lighter note. From your perspective, and a person who is engaged in this field, what is your assessment in the participation of local suppliers?
The participation has increased greatly, especially in women. There used to be no women that were participating in government procurements, but now there are very many that are involving themselves in government procurement because of the many trainings that we've had. Every Friday we have trainings on EGP, and it has made many people get interested. And the fact that we are now going E is making everyone interested in knowing what the government is doing, and the fact that the government has the biggest expenditure, then the local people want also to divide and have a cake on that share. Now so it was a very good thing that the procurement had to call us.
Yeah. Go on, please.
Yes, please. It was very good that they called us and interacted with us and had to get to know our grievances, and sometimes they come and touch base, understand how we do the procurements, understand how we do implementation, and we are truly grateful.
Now, how accessible, inviting are these market tenders to you local suppliers?
Formerly, we used to have the one which was manual, whereby the bids would appear in newspapers. There we would have challenges, especially the people who would not be buying newspapers every Tuesday and Thursdays, we would miss out. But the fact that we are now going E, those procurements are broadcasted into their portal, and where we are members and we pay. So everybody gets access. Whoever is interested in a certain procurement, they receive messages on their phones as well as emails, which are very prompt. And all those procurements have deadlines. So we who are interested are always like on the go to participate in what procurement it is. Whether it is a school, whether it is a road, people in different sectors are alerted and we get involved as promptly as we can.
Technologies, has this particular market been locally, for both local and central government, has it effectively been utilized?
You see, technology in Uganda mostly is measured by foreigners, if I can say Indians.
Okay.
When you go on Kampala Road, you agree with me that they are mostly Indians that own those laptop shops. However, we are trying our level best to get involved. Yes, locals are still scarce, but as PPDA, they are doing their best to do local content, so that every procurement that happens, at least there is a percentage that there is local content. So if a procurement happens, for example, for laptops or for implementation of a system, They try as best as they can to monitor and see that the percentage of local content is there. As schools and the government, IT is still lacking, especially the practicality of it. And when it comes to business, the practicality of it on implementation will still be lacking. The foreigners are measuring. Then we still have a challenge of joint venture, whereby the IT people, especially the young ones, will not come together to implement a huge system because they lack the knowledge. But when we get a chance, we implement and try to do our best.
I would like to know from your perspective how transparent the bidding process has been, because now I know there is an electronic system through which you can see the bidding, whichever contract has been successful. I realize that some of the suppliers do not get informed if they are not successful. They just leave them out of the loop, and then they just see work being done already in other projects. How true is that?
Formerly, yes, there was that challenge because any system that is manual will always have challenges. That is why the government had to think very hard to bring EGP. In EGP, when there is a bidding process, the day you bid and the deadline day, if it is 2 p.m., it is 2 p.m. The system will close everybody out who has not yet submitted. When it comes to prices, all prices are displayed automatically by the hour. So the highest bidder is seen by everybody, is shared on each and everyone's email. When it comes to maybe the experience, everybody has to see. It is as straight, as transparent as possible. However, we still have a challenge. Definitely not everybody knows how to use the system. That's why the government is doing all it takes to make sure they do trainings. That's why every Friday we have the online trainings. When you agree with me that the business sector there's a certain age group that it has. The young people are not yet involved so much in business and big projects of the government, and they are the people who are on E and are revolving with technology. So you will find that there are a bit of challenges for people to understand what's going on, because IT is revolving very fast. But that system is very transparent, where if you have a query and you put it within a system, everybody gets to know what you are asking, and everybody gets to know the response that they are giving you. It is much better than the manual system that we used to have, and we applaud the government for having at least thought about that.
Maybe something I might want to bring to your attention, and that was highlighted from most of the suppliers, was a delayed payment from government. For instance, they give them a contract and then they delay to pay, and they expect them to finish maybe 80%. So do you think, I'm very much sure, when someone is not paid, of course, or you demand for services, you're not going to be able to...
We are having a lot of challenges when it comes to payment. We are actually implementing and sitting and waiting, and there is no payment. When you really see everybody was really so annoyed, we are still not happy about it, because we are using our money to, if I can put it, to run some projects of the government and sitting and waiting. And that is actually making us stranded on the business. So the situation is not good. The situation is not good at all. We would be grateful if at all they would have come out and said there is no money and probably don't bid or don't just implement, let's wait. So that problem is there, and we hope, maybe it was brought by the COVID situation, we hope the situation will improve before it affects us, because some of us might end up closing at this rate.
You know, the procurement senior officer from World Bank highlighted something very important as well when she was making her presentation, something about the ineffectiveness of local suppliers. On the contrary, from foreign suppliers who they give work and then they don't have to follow up on them, local suppliers have been termed as slow, and they need to be followed up on, especially on works goods. I know you're measuring in technologies, but maybe you could give me a broadened perspective.
Now, the major challenge of us Ugandans is that we don't cooperate with each other. Foreigners come here and form joint ventures. They come and their governments support them. both financially, both with highly experienced people to come and implement. So they leave a footprint on whatever they are doing. When it comes to us locals, you find we are competing against each other. If it is one bid, instead of us coming together and doing it together, each one will submit their bid. And if one of us maybe goes through, the person is not experienced. You find that instead of seeing my neighbor who is experienced to bring him on board and we all do the work together, we bring finances together and implement, we don't do that. And that is our biggest challenge. Ugandans, we should learn how to work together. We should learn how, at least we should copy the foreigners, what they are doing, so that we take over the market. Without that, the foreigners will always come in, and definitely, if they are doing the better job, they will always be given the job, and we shall always remain. Though they have the local content, but if we are not doing a better job, we are left with no any other alternative than the job being given to the person who does it better.
Cost and financial structures were also highlighted from this suppliers forum, where one of the suppliers mentioned that there's inadequacies from, of course, PPDA itself and the government. How do you think, or to what extent has this challenged the entire procurement system? Because at the end of the day, the government and you, the private sector, would want to arrive on better procurement outcomes.
If you're talking about finances, then definitely it is a challenge, as I had highlighted before. The situation is not good. There is implementation, but we still wait and there is no payment. Okay. So if, for example, one is given a road then and is not paid in advance, then the road stalls.
As we conclude, I would like to know how best you think these challenges, because there are quite a number of them. How best do you think these challenges can be addressed? Of course, from government, PSFU, your body for representing private sector, and PPDA, the arm that is responsible for procurement.
The good thing is that they have ear to the ground.
Okay.
Through constant calling us, the business people, and listening to us, they get to touch base. They get to understand our challenges. Through dialogue, we get to talk to each other and give them probably the solutions and how best we can do business. And the fact that PPDA is always having the supervisory role, especially on high bids, they come to see the challenges themselves and they come to talk to the business people as they implement to see how best they can. There are some policies that are being changed. For example, yesterday they told us of very many policies that are changing, and at least they are trying to tackle some of the challenges that we've been making noise about, and we do hope that in future they will keep reducing and we shall have a better bidding process.
Thank you so much, Doreen. We hope that your hopes won't be in vain. Thank you so much again for the pleasure of your time. That was Doreen Nakampunira from the Consult Technologies, who is in charge of procurement mainly. That will now usher us into a short break where we will return with more from Business Today.
Smart 24, driving business.
foot in Buto, the taste of Uganda in a new international park.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
Owa, obadde olobye ku ssimu?
Yamunange, anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumirwa omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kw'otadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya GOTV channels ku ssimu yo olwo onyumirwe ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kukozesa data. GOTV channels.
Smart 24, driving business.
You're welcome back from that short commercial break, and thank you for sticking with us. Now, moving on, the World Intellectual Property Organization, in partnership with the African Intellectual Property and with the funding of the Japanese government, held an Intellectual Property Week with the goal of educating SMEs and allowing them to exchange experiences with other stakeholders in the innovation ecosystem. This was indeed to engage and combat international trade and discuss developing IP trends while taking into account of the market challenges.
In a country that perceives property as something in a tangible form, intellectual property remains a challenge to appreciate and harness. Intellectual property has been seen as a tool to protect creations of the mind, such as artistic works, but the emergence of intellectual property-based financing creates an opportunity to accessing credit that SMEs ought to explore. Furthermore, laws in place should protect the small and medium enterprises in the marketplace, with government enabling them to developing services, as well as coming up with institutions to help out on intellectual property.
So even our systems, it is now that URSB has really brought this traction on registering patents and registering intellectual property, but the common person is not aware. So we kept our intellectual property by being secretive.
The world is established on small and medium enterprises, contributing 90% of employment. That is why there is need to build a strong intellectual property among SMEs. With an established intellectual property system, the financial service providers and private equity can explore the option of intellectual property to finance entities that primarily rely on intellectual property for their growth.
The government of Uganda has also come up with laws to to help Ugandans use movable property to access finance. Traditionally, it is the people that have titles, especially fixed property, that access loans. But the government of Uganda in 2019 said, no, you people have to, whoever has any property, a computer, jewelry, a phone, a crops, livestock, a stock, intellectual property, you can use them to access finance.
For many SMEs, their worth lies in what they create, their intellectual property, so to speak. Their contribution to employment has always been globally acknowledged to be around 90%. With depressed venture capital in the region and, of course, dwindling hard assets, SMEs should increasingly be advised to adopt intangible assets.
The workshop further indicates that IP and innovation enables the development of the country by creating linkages to businesses to ensure sustainable growth in relation to trademarks and patent rights.
IP and innovation are two sides of the coin for prosperity and sustainability for a country to develop. In fact, it is an indispensable mechanism for translating knowledge into commercial assets.
Japan has pledged to continue supporting sustainable development in Africa to make a significant realization of the sustainable development goals set forth by the United Nations, which is highly beneficial in promoting the growth of SMEs.
Expressed that Japan will continue to do its utmost to promote sustainable development driven by Africa itself as a partner growing together with Africa. Towards sustainable development in Africa in terms of intellectual property, the growth of SME is essential by creating innovation with appropriate grant and utilization of intellectual property rights.
The 2015 report by the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor ranked Uganda as the most entrepreneurial country in the world, with about 28% of businesses sprouting. However, these businesses continue to struggle due to unfair competition and counterfeit alternatives, which is a major constraint to business growth and competitiveness. The laws in place should enable businesses, especially small and medium enterprises, to leverage and protect themselves in the marketplace. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Now, away from that, women SMEs now want the banking sector to reduce the interest rates to at least 7% to strengthen their access to finance for women-owned businesses in Uganda. However, bankers claim that even if the central bank reduces the rates, banks will still find it hard to reduce the rates due to operation costs.
Women business owners are usually not credit-worthy since they are unable to provide collateral as security for loans, and when they attempt to acquire bank loans, they are disappointed by expensive interest rates. Women SMEs in Uganda have now come out and demand that the banking sector cut interest rates to at least 7% in order to boost access to funding for women-owned business enterprises.
Interest rates, because the interest rates are quite high for women. If only the banks could maybe bring down the interest to, in my opinion, 7%, that would, help women do even better in their businesses.
According to Rashid Musisi, a banker and an economist, he insisted that even if the central bank rate declines, most financial institutions will delay lowering the interest rate due to high operational costs.
As a bank, we are highly regulated, and their guidelines we follow, financial guidelines we follow. We are regulated by the central bank, and there are other factors that determine the interest we charge our customers. That is the inflation rate itself. Right now, if you look at the inflation rate, you will see where it is. It is high. It has gone back up. The cost of capital, operational cost. There are so many things we look at when we are considering our cost of capital before we can consider how much we can charge our customers.
Gracia Mashad Trust Uganda Network carried out several interventions towards women's financial inclusion since March 2022 and indicated that women own 38.4% of businesses in Uganda, and the majority struggle to access financial services, and others claim that their businesses can't survive when banks take 28% of the loan interest.
When will we ever have a single digit like other countries have done? So if those people are doing it, what do we need to do as Uganda? And single digit here, I mean below 10.
We are trying to talk to partners to support us to leverage on that area so that we can reduce our interest rate after having been supported by partners.
To address challenges that affect women's access to finance, there is a need to increase entrepreneurs' awareness of the available public and private sector business financial support opportunities and equip women entrepreneurs with business management and financial literacy skills to better manage their businesses. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
The World Bank has advised the government of Uganda to implement the national frameworks for European intellectual property services, that is EIPS, at industrial parks, policy and financing in order to benchmark frameworks and zones to raise development in the private sector.
At the 5th Economic Industrial Zone, Chief Programs and Project Officer, Private Sector Foundation Uganda, Damalisali, gave the business people in industrial parks the assurance that the private sector is designing a private catalytic fund of $100 million, which will target small and medium firms and young people in order to create more employment opportunities. Accordingly, European Intellectual Property Services has urged industrial areas to encourage cross-industry and community engagement for shared advantages relating to economic, social and environmental performance, which are incorporated into the formation, planning, management and operations in EIP.
Running is $100 million, and then we will start scaling continuously. Because remember, the catalytic fund it's availing capital to SMEs, young people, youth, but that capital has to be returned, and it's patient, but it has to be returned so that it is a continuous revolving fund that continuously, if you've borrowed from us and then you pay back, we should be able to give to somebody else. Remember, our population is growing.
Damalisali also advised the informal sector to engage in Uganda free zones in order to access free services and increase Uganda's exports.
To get those benefits of being in a free zone, because if you're in a free zone, whatever you produce will be tax exempt. You're getting electricity, you're getting access to the infrastructure already, so you just set up. So you're losing those benefits if you stay informal, because you can't access a free zone if you're informal.
Additionally, Hez Arinda, Executive Director of Uganda Free Zone, explains that the Free Zone is a self-contained industrial space with the objective to export and transit wealth and sustainability in accordance with the Free Zone Act 2014, which ensures licensing after achieving the terms in the Act.
To create jobs and to link our country, our entrepreneurs, our producers, our manufacturers, our business people into the global supply and value chain system. And that's very important, because a country that does not export cannot transit to wealth.
According to Olive Zaitun Chigongo, the director of Uganda National Chamber of Commerce, accessible funding is crucial for the operation of businesses, since it would enable business communities to succeed. He continues to emphasize the importance of sensitizing people about free trade.
You be it branding materials, be it your machinery, you bring it duty-free. But we don't know, so they have to come out and tell us, maybe through us and many others and you, the media, that actually free zones are very important in the sense that they cut on costs. As opposed to building up a factory where, like I said, when I'm driving, like going to the west, I actually feel the pain when I see the factories in the home states.
Uganda will implement European intellectual property services in industrial parks, which will be planned and developed for industrial activities and related commercial and infrastructure services. Industrial parks include industrial areas, industrial zones, industrial investment regions, special economic zones, and industrial corridors. Samuel Chirumunda, Masi Katsime for Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Samuel Chirumunda and Masi Katsime, for that report. Now, MTN Uganda has taken its capacity building and market defining project to Jinja City, exploring the business community to understand the related work challenges and aspirations. This is aided by the appointment of chief community officers.
Corporate social responsibility addresses various transformation concerns. With the appointment of chief community officers, MTN Uganda anticipates to understand the needs and aspirations of nationwide communities that utilize its services. Through that Together We Unstoppable project, Jinja City's textile and related business communities manifest such efforts.
The expectation is that please ensure that MTN is just not a commodity in this market. It's not just about airtime or mobile money, but it's a way of life for every people.
MTN has helped me to use data so that I take pics, then I post. Customers ask for the what? Different colors of uniforms.
The project, whose first line of address is the informal sector, shall ultimately assist the communications network in implementing a needs-led approach.
It's very important that every single Ugandan also has some of its side gigs, okay, keeps on hustling, and they do it with a lot of creativity. Okay, as MTN, we provide connectivity, okay, thus indirectly we are supporting, but we want to be deliberate, okay, and go ahead into the market and really find out, okay, what people are doing. We want to see them, we want to work with them, because at the end of the day, if our solutions and the creativity of the people, the hustlers on the street.
MTN has maintained a far-reaching corporate social responsibility, sponsorship activities inclusive to impact on the lives of Ugandans across the country.
I've been here, we deal in all sorts of cottages, and we saw company clothes, school clothes, and the videos. So we'd like MTN to help us, at least to make an advert for us, because people underlook people in the market. They say they are all over here.
Andrew Barije, Smart 24, Business Today.
As we come close to the end of Business Today, I would like us to look at what made the headlines.
In Business Today, approximately 60 billion shillings lost to data piracy, music, film, literature, all looted. Coffee exports dropped to 5.6 million bags. Stakeholders embark on revival means as anticipated target stands at 60 bags. Fifth generation rolled out, high internet costs still to be resolved by subscription numbers.
That will lead us to the end of Business Today. Thank you for the pleasure of your time. My name is Ronnah Nahabwe with Winnie in the Nakawuki and the sign language, and I'd like to implore you to watch or stream live on our YouTube channel if you could have missed any of these stories at Smart 24 TV, and follow our social media platforms or get to know the latest business news within the region. Have a good day.